Hello everyone, Ryan here, and today we have a special episode. It's a special video, a special podcast, whatever you want to call it. A unique for this channel, very off topic, but Liam and I wanted to get together and talk about Drag Race, RuPaul's Drag Race, because you know why? We're both big fans of the show, and we talk about it a lot in messages, in DMs and all that shit. And we thought, why not just get together and just talk about the entire season, the second season of the show, the UK Drag Race show, and just speak our thoughts because, yeah, I don't have an explanation. We just thought, why not? Why not?
That's enough. We wanted to, and that's what's happening, and you're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah,
please.
Exactly. You might click on this video and be like, I've never heard of this band, I've never heard of this album, but you will be surprised. You will be surprised. But yeah, no, we're here. We're both big fans of the show. I think Liam, historically, has been watching it. I don't know why I said historically, but has been watching it.
Infamously, people like come into my DMs being like, "Oh, you're that guy that likes RuPaul's Drag Race." It gets very toxic sometimes, but I rise above it though.
Yeah, you got to rise above, man. They are living rent free. You are living rent free in their heads. Don't let them do it. No, but yeah, we're here to talk about it. Liam's been watching it quite a while. I think I've probably lagged a few years after Liam, but since watching it, I've become such a big fan. I think it's probably like out of all the talent shows or even reality shows, I don't think it'll ever get better than this. Like, I really don't think there's ever going to be anything that gets as good as this, and it's great to see that it's getting more and more popular as the years go by, because it truly deserves it. So yeah, we want to talk about the second season of the UK, and before I keep talking, I want to introduce you to Liam. Liam, how are you doing? Liam the music reviewer.
Liam the music reviewer for today because I had to. I think that could be our drag personas for this episode. Liam the music reviewer and not real music. There we go.
Yeah, amazing.
We'll get all the merch. We'll get all the merch going. But thank you for having me. Like you say, like I feel like it's became such like a tradition over the past few months where it's just been like watch an episode and then just like jump into the DMs and like go in depth on it. And yeah, it has really helped a lot to get through sort of like lockdown just now. I think that if there's one big praise we can give the second season of the UK's run so far it's over now, has just been the levity. It has just been, I think, because we're so used to kind of like binge TV, where it's just like you just get a whole season right in your plate, enjoy it, and I think having that sort of like spread out like breadcrumbs wise has just made it like, yeah, this has been a big source of dopamine, serotonin, all the happiness.
Absolutely, man. And I was a bit, because they're definitely churning out a lot of seasons now. Like a few years ago, it was literally just, the main season. Well, even before All Stars, it was literally just the main season. But now it's like All Stars, and now it's like the UK, and then it's Canada, and then it's bloody Holland, and then it's like Australia's coming soon as well. So like I was a bit hesitant, but having two seasons run at the same time, obviously we've got season 13 in the US. And then the UK season 2. I've actually been quite enjoying it, just having a few things a week just to focus on and just sit down and have a bit of fun watching them. Or, maybe not as much fun with the US season, but but yeah, but still something to focus on, something to talk about, a bit of fun, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been great. And yeah, the UK season 2 stepped the pussy up, as they would say on the show. They really stepped it up. I mean, season 1 was great, but season 2 was fantastic. And bloody hell, man, like there was a 7-month gap. They had to go through all the coronavirus shit, and yet the quality didn't dip. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that at all. It's impressive.
Arguably, I think it even got even better after that like break, which is. It absolutely boggles my mind. I'm glad you said that about season 1, because I genuinely do feel that maybe some people who jumped into season 2 just because of the hype that it was rightfully getting might just think it kind of like whenever I try and recommend the US run, which for people that might not be like super into season 1 of the US original is quite infamous for being quite shit in terms of production value. And usually when I recommend the show to people, I say to them, look, I would probably even start as late as season 5.
Yeah.
Work your way forward, but maybe even season 4.
Yeah.
But like usually start there, go forward, and then maybe return to it. And I feel like if anyone has watched the second season, not knowing that the first season is actually, I would say the second season is better, but the first season was a very, very good start.
Oh yeah.
I guess we'll get into the queens in a wee bit, but I do feel like with the batch of queens we've got from these 2 seasons alone, if they were to announce today we're doing a UK All-Stars, as much as it might feel like a really oversaturated series, a UK variant it'd be the first time hearing UK variant would make me happy in the past year. I'd be very, very happy with a UK All-Stars.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh god, man. Yeah. All Stars needs to happen with the UK. I mean, again, they're really churning him out a lot. But I've been like thinking about it, thinking that could be one of the best of all time if it goes well, and they pick the right people, and the people that could come back want to come back as well. It's like, yeah, I think they really need to do that. But yeah, totally agree. Yeah, season 1, that was a great season, really good. And yeah, season 2 somehow just ended up being better, which is insane. I don't know how they managed to top that first season. I was going to say something else now, and my mind's blanked. Why is it blank? No,
No.
Why? No. We'll go back to it if I think of what I wanted to say. But I thought what we could do is maybe just give a bit of a background, because there might be some super fans clicking on this and wanting to hear our thoughts. Before we get into the queens of this season, all that kind of stuff, maybe just give an overview of who are some of your favourites of all time, favourite queens of all time from all seasons.
Very fair. I think that's a fair question. I know right now this is like a politician intro where it's like I'm going to try and get like my really, really safe answer. I'm going to be like, oh, it'd have to be. I mean, to be fair, if you say Bianca Del Rio is one of your favourite queens, that's totally fair, because she is like a great. I think I always have an affinity for like the eccentric weirdo queens.
Oh yeah.
You can imagine that when we had Sasha Velour win season 9, and then 2 years later with Evie Oddly winning.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I couldn't have been happier. And obviously there's been weirder queens throughout all the history of Drag Race. I mean, Jinx Monsoon season 5 is definitely one of my faves as well.
Yeah.
And when it came to, I think in terms of like non-winners, like it kind of feels like when it comes to like football discussion, like it's so easy to be like, oh, I like this player because they're an all-time great, but it's like sometimes there's people that don't get quite the respect they deserve. And in terms of queens that I like, that weren't like winners, I guess Adore Delano is always one that I come to bring up. Also, I guess quite a recent queen, which I don't know if it'll be recency bias or not, but I was a huge fan of Crystal Method from season 12. Yeah, just especially I'm a big fan of queens that get undermined by the show and just end up like really blossoming. It makes it such a satisfying watch, because if there's one thing, even if folk are listening to this just now, just happy to hear our voices, don't really know much about the show itself. The editing in this show really does like make or break it.
Oh yeah.
And so when it comes to some of the narratives that come about, like with Evie Oddly, who is just like very much in their own head, like just feels like they're constantly a battle for themselves, and then finally getting that win was just so satisfying. So that's probably like a good rundown of my favourites. There's some ones that like I like who aren't like super great, but I'll always have a soft spot for. I'll always have a soft spot for 4G4, even if she. I think this is one where it's like, I wouldn't say she's even like my top 10 or top 20, but there's such a strong personality there where like, even if like I say, wouldn't be my top 20, whenever I watch, I think it's season 8 she's in,
season 8,
the Bob season, I'm happy to like see her pop up, even if she ends up kind of going off the deep end a bit later on. It makes for like a really satisfying watch. I suppose the other ones would just be some of the other obvious ones like Katya and that, but I'll end up just listing off so many. So what are some of yours, Ryan, before I say them all?
No, it's good. I was enjoying hearing your thoughts. Thought I appreciate that shout, actually. Fair dues.
Yeah.
And what you said is really important, actually, about the editing. Jesus Christ, that can make or break queens so badly. And Yeah, and she's a good one actually because, again, bit of background knowledge here, but about a few days ago, Bob and Thorgy did a video together on the finale of this season, UK season 2, and on the show they were like enemies, quote unquote enemies, but it really goes to show that actually they're friends, and it's just a TV show, and it's all a competition, and you get in your head, and you're probably, getting frustrated that you're not doing well and things like that. And Thorgy Thor was a prime example of that. I think competition got to her, and she's the kind of queen that looks a bit worse because of stuff like that. But no, they're good friends. They have great chemistry, and the video I watched was fantastic. They were hilarious. So yeah, editing makes or breaks this show. You can be sold alive very easily on this show, and it's pretty sad. I that's one of my least favorite aspects of it. I don't like that. I don't really like the way they treated Fifi. I think Fifi's an underrated queen. I think she deserved better. She had her moments that she could have really chilled out. I will say season 4 really should have chilled out, but the All-Star season, no, she was fine. They edited her really badly. It wasn't fair at all. She was great that season. Should have gone further. But obviously the format of All-Stars is a bit messy because you can just vote off whoever you want and stuff. But yeah, they're not my favorites or anything, but I thought I'd bring that up as well because that's an important point.
No, very fair.
But yeah, some of my favorites, you've mentioned quite a few already. Jinx, come on, how's Jinx not one of your favorites ever? Jesus Christ, Jinx is fantastic.
100%.
Like she wasn't even the underdog that season as well. She was so good every episode. Never had had one bad moment, but other than that, never had bad moments. She was great.
I would say she was quite an underdog at a certain point, mainly because if I'm not mistaken, that was like one of like the first seasons that Michelle Visage was in.
Yeah.
Who I absolutely adore Michelle. Like it's weird how it's got to a point with the judge panel now where like I'm more excited to see her than the person who the show is named after. But I feel like she was at odds with Michelle, and Jinx felt like they were at odds a little bit in terms of what their drag was like.
Yeah.
But same with I can't remember what his name is. Is it Santino?
Oh,
is that
God,
his name? Was similarly because she wasn't like a quote unquote like fashion queen,
no,
which is usually what they call like the pretty queens. She was more just a very like again eccentric queen. They've got all different names, but like the weirdo queens who just like. I think it's weird because like as the show's gone on, it's like people like Michelle are wanting to see more of that, whereas like back in season 5 they were like no, you must not do this.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see how those boundaries get broken. But yeah, so Jinx is one of your big ones. Is there anyone else that I didn't nick from you?
Yeah, quite a few actually. I definitely gravitate towards the comedy ones. So any of the ones that make me laugh, I appreciate the eccentric ones. And the fashion that like some of them come through with, because I'm not a fashion expert. I kind of watch the show really to be entertained. So people like Violet I can recognize is fantastic with fashion, but I'm not like a big fan of her as a queen, although she can have her moments. But my favorites end up being like people like Jujubee, just so funny, just so quick witty. You've got obviously Bob the drag queen. How can you not say Bob the drag queen? Of course, Bianca, obviously, Ben de la Creme, potentially my favorite.
Oh my
ever.
God! I'm kicking myself right now. I think because like whenever somebody asks you, you're always going right for the winners right away. But I mean, technically, and I would say she is the All Stars 3 winner. I very much would rather say that than saying, as much as I like Trixie Mattel, like really. If it hadn't gone the way it'd gone, it would have been Ben de la Creme all the way. That was just X Games mode. That was like absolute GOAT status that season. It was fantastic. So much fun.
Fantastic. Yeah, but Dela, just absolutely love Dela. Anyone that can just be that funny any given moment is so impressive to me. Also from the All-Star season, and other seasons, Shangela, one of my favorites, hilarious. I think she's fantastic.
Yes.
Manila Luzon, probably the best combination of fashion and comedy. Like, I don't know if there's there are other queens like that, but she might be one of the most well-rounded queens, I think, to combine those elements so well. And yeah, she's probably, as her and Dela are two of the best to never win, I think. And some underrated queens, Monique Hart, definitely underrated. Monique Hart is great.
Oh yes, good show.
Yeah, really
good
great.
show.
Really think she's great. I think Arja's quite underrated too. Arja's quite underrated.
I would agree in that as well. For her season definitely was a bit shoddy, but she did give that iconic Valentina run, is yeah, I will always respect that. But when she came back for All Stars 4, I believe she was just on. It felt like a different Aja had shown up. She was like really refined, so she was.
Any others? I mean, I don't want to go on too long. I've named quite a few there.
I think if there's three that I need to bring up, or else Mari, my fiance, will probably kill me on the spot. Would be Shake who, for the record, season 9 is one of my favorite seasons of the show ever. Like, that was just, I think maybe because that was one of the first seasons that I was like properly invested in. And while I was totally happy with Sasha Velour winning, Shakily was like, just with how well she performed that season, I did feel bad for her, but obviously redemption happened a few years later. I would also like to say Chi Chi Devane, who sadly passed away last year.
Such a nice person.
So wonderful. I think if there's certain things that people who aren't well acquainted with the show should know, it's just that like personality alone can get you so far. Yeah. And while I would say she was definitely like a personality queen, I respect her so much for her type of drag, even if a lot of times it fell short. Yeah. What it represented and just her whole attitude will always be, even if she didn't perform the best out of all the queens, just hugely respected by so many, and rightfully so. And the other one that I want to bring up, because I would probably guess it's Mari's favourite, and I do like them a fair bit as well, Alyssa Edwards, who probably is like one of, like, up there with Shangela in terms of like most recognisable drag queens, and definitely one that I would love to see perform an actual drag show. Her dancing is just, I think there's a show with Shangela and Alyssa Edwards before like a season finale where they're doing this big performance, and it is just like, I would pay upwards of 50 quid to have been in the crowd to experience that. So I think there's a lot of greats. It is just, it's a constantly growing roster, especially with this season. Tangent, segue, whatever we call it.
And that's we'll move on from there, because we listed lots of great queens there, but of course it is time to bring up season 2, as you just rightfully brought us on to. And so basically what we're going to do is we're kind of just going to go through each queen in order of the way they got eliminated, and then all the way up to the final, and then we'll probably talk about different challenges along the way and stuff, but we'll do it like that. So we'll start with the sort of infamous elimination, really, of Joe Black in the first episode, which infamous in the sense that I didn't know this going into the season, but Joe Black is actually quite famous in the UK, and was very much expected to do much better, but left the first episode. So that must have been great for Joe.
It really did set the vibe for the season, though, because if this season proved anything, it was just how unpredictable it was going to be. And I do think that the judging in that episode, it's one of these kind of catch-22 situations, because on the one hand, Joe Black, I feel, got a lot of unfair, like, harsh criticism. I thought her Bowie look was just excellent. I think it was was Joe from Brighton, was it? And it was like that whole look, and it feels like that was more on the judges not getting it as opposed to the actual not that I was going crazy for the look, but it kind of felt like if she'd been from a different place that had a bit more recognisable to the two American judges who have more of a swing or more of a sway compared to, I'm assuming Graham was in that episode judging, because he's in pretty much every episode. It did feel like a bit unfortunate, but on the other hand, it was definitely the best choice in hindsight. But at the time, I was like, why did Joe leave? Like, Joe had so much potential. But obviously, knowing now that they were going up against Bimini Bon Boulash, it's like, I'm not wanting to see what that timeline would have been like. Definitely not.
No, I get you. It was I was conflicted too because Bimini was great in that lip sync. Like, you couldn't deny that she won that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I remember at the time I was thinking, surely Joe Black had more to offer. What a crazy thought in my mind that I had at that moment. It's so weird.
And can I say, see the Norwich outfit that Bimini was wearing? I like it. I thought it was so. I will say that, like, the one big criticism that she gets in, like, the first few episodes is that she kind of relies on having, like, oh, this look bit slutty and this look bit slutty, and obviously that definitely changed the season went on. But, like, I don't know. There's, like, something just, like, hilarious about it that I just really did dig. But I can obviously see why the judges maybe didn't feel as positively on it. But yeah, just let it be put on the record. Liam the Music Reviewer is a big fan of slutty football outfits.
Like a slutty mum at a Norwich game. Like, yes. Just like every now and then going, I'm vegan. Don't give me that pork pie, I'm vegan.
Make it happen. Trendsetter right there. Trendsetter.
Oh, come on, Bimini, you gotta do it. But no, I totally see what you mean. Like, there were clips of that, I think, in the finale, or some episode there was a clip of it, and I kind of looked at it again. I was like, you know what, maybe it's not that bad. But yeah, I do see what you mean with Joe. I did think especially Michelle, that episode. I think Michelle is great, but every now and then she just says something, I'm just a bit like, what? Like, every now and then. I mean, I'm sure people watch my reviews, and every now and then they go, "What's Ryan?" But Michelle, but that's
we don't. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if anyone ever brings up Playboy Carti dialect to me, I'll just pretend that never happened.
Oh man, that's
we all have our moments, and like you say, yeah, she's been in, like, tens of seasons at this point. You're gonna have a stink of an opinion at some points, but I think, yeah, that episode, I remember Twitter, which is always, like, when it comes to Drag Race discussion, is always, like, super heated, but I remember that specifically folk were like, what are they thinking? And thinking now of what the general consensus on Twitter is about who should have won this season, it's very funny to see how it all sort of, like, not backfire, but how the tables turned just so drastically.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, yeah. Twitter's a funny place, man. As soon as someone gets eliminated and people are like, what? Like, it is funny. Like, people are instantly just right down the Queen's throats immediately. Like, they shouldn't be still here. It's just like, oh my god, calm down. But yeah, no, it was a shame to see Joe go, but I kind of got it. Man, I wish I remembered the rest of the looks from that episode, because I'm sure I remember thinking someone else should have been in the bottom instead of Joe. But damn it,
it's probably Tia Coffee.
Yeah, you know,
probability would imply that Tia Coffee would probably have been in the bottom.
That's true.
I guess we'll get more into Tia as it goes on, but I loved them personality wise, but there has never been a queen where, like, every time they came out on the runway I was thinking, no, please. I felt like a parent who was watching, like, non-uniform, like, watching their kid go to non-uniform day, and I'm like, no, don't wear the khaki shorts with your Joker t-shirt. Wear anything else, please. It was very frustrating. So I would probably guess at Tia Coffee. Maybe she had a good look that episode, but I get the feeling that probably Tia Coffee. Yeah. Maybe I don't know, maybe Cherry Valentine might have been there too, but I do remember the first episode really being a case of, like, everyone was actually quite solid. The fact that the bottom two are both looks that I'm a fan of is, like, I think, kind of just set the bar quite high for the season. Oh yeah,
for sure. No, you're totally right. But yeah, let's move on to the next eliminated queen, which was Cherry Valentine. Now, before we talk about her on the show, I will say it was quite cool because I'm originally from really close to where she's from, so it was nice to hear someone with an accent that I grew up around. It's kind of weird because obviously when you watch the American seasons, obviously they're all from, like, Atlanta, New York, Florida, and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So you don't really get that relatability. But whenever her talking heads were on, I felt like I knew her. It was really weird. So that was quite nice. I'm sure you might have felt the same as well, Liam, with a few the Scottish queens.
Definitely with for sure. And I as much as Cherry Valentine didn't care for, like, a lot of their I mean, I think you always have like a queen or two that are kind of like quote unquote forgettable, and that's not a slight against them. It's just like when you've got such big personalities and like whatnot, some people are gonna have to, especially if the editing like can fade right into the background. But I thought Cherry Valentine was lovely. I can totally respect the whole like having somebody there that. I agree with the accent stuff in terms of having some familiarity. And their laugh was iconic. Cherry Valentine, I think, got a bit of a bad rap. I would love to have seen. I wouldn't like to see a timeline where Bimini got cut out of the first episode. I'd be interested to see what would have happened if who was Cherry up against. Cherry was up against Taste. Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have liked to see Taste go either, but like even just a glimpse to see how Cherry would have like went. Especially for Snatch Game, I feel like Cherry could have probably done quite a good Snatch Game. But I guess we'll never know. Maybe unless they end up in All Stars. But I think that episode, the challenge for that episode, they always do like there's always like at least one musical per season. I was totally fine with the Rats musical. I don't think really it was mostly just with the most iconic standout bit was the kind of like gangster rats. I think it was with it was Bimini and somebody else.
Bimini and Ahora, they were great. Yeah,
it was like the Prodigy. So it was just like I really was big on that. So probably like definitely in terms of like what the challenge was one of the more memorable episodes. I was looking there to see who won that episode as well, and it was Veronica Green who I feel like she'll probably come up a lot more as the season goes on. But yes, episode 2, I was fine with the decision made. Just sometimes it do be like that. Somebody's got to go, even if you're not bad. It's just like it's more a case of being the weakest out of a bunch as opposed to being all bad.
I agree. Yeah. And I think it was the one. I'm sure this was where she walked out on the runway with like what was it, like a gender reveal thing? It just looked really tacky. I was not a fan of that. I think that's what put her in the bottom, to be honest. It was a really bad look.
Was that the same? I think was that not the episode? Was the theme all about reveals as well? Is that what was?
Yes, you're right. Yeah, it was a reveal episode.
Okay.
Yeah,
because that was one where Bimini had like quite a good idea, but the execution ended up being that like she was popping at it and just like. There was nothing came out. I was so gutted for them. But I think with Cherry's look, I'm like the intent. Like obviously the reveal was that there is no reveal. Like it's tacky and whatnot. I get that, but like I think there's a kind of point where your intent and the execution. A great example is Simone from the US run, and the episode before the one that just came out. With her like Black Lives Matter don't shoot thing, that was a case where intent and execution met, and it was so satisfying. This was a case where like I get where you're coming from, but like it's just it was quite lacking. And just sometimes all it takes is just like one move which can just get you sent packing home. And I think not to go too much about this episode, or even the episodes in general, but I do love the UK run is always like 10 episodes a season, so it feels like it's in the US run. The big criticism is that it goes on for far too long. Here it's like that like every decision you're seeing on screen just now, you don't want to look away because it's like you don't know what's going to contribute to somebody going home. And there's very rarely ever a point where it feels too safe, or it feels like it's going to get extended, like it's happening, buckle up kind of thing. So that's kind of all I've got to say. But I think this was also the one that had like the wee voting mini challenge, which is fun. I think that was where Taste got voted like the prettiest. Drag, was it?
I think Tia Coffee got basic. What was it? Basic bitch or something? Or basic Baron or something like that.
But yeah, Baroness Basic. I think it was. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh, it was good. It was a good time. I do like that episode.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say it's a controversial thing. I think Lawrence got through by the skin of his teeth there with that one. I think in the musical, he knows that he's not a good dancer. Oh yeah, he knows he's not a good dancer, but obviously he looked out of place. So yeah, I think he got a bit lucky there. But obviously, I do like Lawrence, so I'm not trying to shit on his parade. But it was just one of those things. I
No,
think it was the runway that pushed Cherry down.
it was very much like a pantomime where like there's like just that one kid on stage who's just like really really shy and it's just like staring faces going like la 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 la, like just you could just tell their heart's not in it, and that's what it felt like. And that was quite a recurring theme for this season. Yeah.
For sure. So let's move on to the next queen that got eliminated. And just to say, most underrated queen of the season. That's my lead up. I think most underrated queen of the season, Astina Mandela. Really talented. I called her because me and my friends. I don't know if you do this as well, Liam, but me and my friends always do like, oh, call the top three based on the first episode. Who's going to be top three? Astina. We all said Astina. Because I did think she was going to be really fantastic. And yeah, she got eliminated really early on. So that was a sad thing to see.
Yeah, I do a similar thing both with, usually when it comes to any discussion, I'm sorry to say, Ryan, but I do talk about this show with people other than you. I hope you're not going to be too heartbroken about that. My God! I do talk about it with Mari and also my pal Ethan, who you know. And I think I can't remember what our the exact top three we all gave for the UK run, but I think most, if not all of us, did have Astina up there, because we've not mentioned her so far, but like she was on top form. She won the first episode. And she also just I think she was like the lead in the Rats musical as well. So like she wasn't happy to like fade into the background. Like she was really putting herself out there, and I feel up to that point, she felt like the front runner of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, yeah. I remember looking into this, and it's very rare that someone wins the first episode and then goes so soon after. Usually the winner of the first episode is kind of locked in for at least half the season. Not like, it's not a guarantee, but it usually is a bit of a, okay, they're going to stick around type thing. And yeah, it's quite a rare thing to see. I think one of the only ones that didn't do that was Mayhem Miller in season 10. Mayhem Miller wins the first episode but goes quite soon after, and Astina followed that very rare pattern. So it was quite weird to see. And yeah, I mean, I don't even think she should have been bottom that episode either. It was the
I hated Bimini's look. I've got it up just now. I mean, okay, that again, I'm always trying to not be that harsh, because it was, if I'm not mistaken, so it was the whole theme of the episode was there'd be a colour picked, and it would be one queen up against the other, and it was Astina up against Bimini, and I'm looking at it just now, and it's just, at first I had to kind of go to myself, is that actually a Bimini look? Because it's one of the most, I guess maybe because like she set the bar in such a way where when it comes to their drag, I'm always thinking like it's going to be wild. And I'm looking at it just now and I'm like, granted, Astina's wasn't like much better, but I prefer it to Bimini's look. There was quite a few decisions made this episode where I'm like, I don't think Lawrence should have won against Ellie.
I was going to say this.
And Lawrence actually won, she won this challenge as well. Shouldn't have had that honour. And again, I do like Lawrence a fair bit, but there was maybe, I don't know if this was a moment where Rue's favouritism was coming through or not, but this just felt like a decision that was made where I'm like, nah, this should have been Ellie, and Ellie does get, I think, undermined a lot throughout this run. I'm not even their biggest fan. I think she maybe be a bit one note here or there, but I think out of these two looks that are in front of me just now, I'm like, nah, I would Ellie in a heartbeat there.
I agree. I commend Lawrence, because Lawrence always really like did a great job at like fitting clothes, it always looked really perfectly fitted, which is a really impressive thing, I think, to do if you're designing your own clothes. Like if you're fitting your clothes so perfectly the way that Lawrence always did, I was really appreciative of it. And I think the look was good. It was a good look. But yeah, I think you're right. It wasn't the best out of the two. But yeah.
Should we address the elephant in the room in terms of bad looks?
Ginny?
Actually, to be fair, I was gonna say there's probably two to talk about, but Ginny's is absolutely the worst of the lot here.
Ginny was bottom two. That was the bottom two episode for Ginny. I think Astina was.
Oh wait, who's in the bottom two?
Astina
and Tia. Oh
it's
no,
Astina, Tia Coffee.
No, that should have been Tia and Ginny like all the way. What the fuck?
When I was watching, I was like, what?
I can't believe this.
I can't believe it, but yeah, I couldn't believe it. I think that was a weird decision. I mean, they were definitely trying to give Ginny a pass because Ginny had never done that kind of thing. So I think they were like, well, we've just told you to try something new. And I think they were a bit like, we can't really put someone in the bottom after we just tried pushing them to go far. So I was like, yeah, I get that, but you've got to look at what's in front of you. And I don't think Astina looked as bad as what they made out.
No, this is actually like I'm not getting angry, but like looking at it just now, I'm like, that was probably one of the worst decisions made.
Yeah.
Because I do think that if I do like Ginny, but like knowing that they go like, I won't give it away all the way right now, but knowing that it was literally the next episode they went. It's like, right, well, I would have much preferred Astina, especially considering what happens in that lip sync as well. It's like, I feel Astina got robbed there, and I'm hoping that we get to see more of her, because I will say that like she did have there was that look, was it the last episode or the episode before that, where like it was pretty much just an ASOS jacket, which I mean we'll get into more
we'll get into more clothing brands soon, clothing companies. But
that was definitely one of the most egregious decisions made. But the fact is though that like it wasn't enough to bring down this season. It was just one of those instances where like they were just lucky that there were so many other good queens left in that I guess because it's so early on, it's like we don't really know what Astina would. For all we know, Astina maybe would have been horrible in the Monster mashup, but I think that I would have really liked to see what she would have had in store for us, because I don't think she would have been as weak as some of the other queens who were still in it at this point. Where
I agree, and another reason. Wait, did we talk about this on the podcast, or were we talking about it before? I've forgotten now, but we were saying about a UK All-Stars season. Another reason why I'm looking forward to one of those is because of queens like Astina. Like, if you've got 3 episodes in and a queen like that's going, and they could come back for an All-Stars and be fantastic. So, yeah, I do think Astina was really hard done to this season. It was really, real shame. Real shame.
Yeah, well, case in point, Aja. I'm pretty sure Aja got like 4 or so episodes into her run, and it was just like, no, like she was genuinely like, well, to be fair, like in that run, she should have went home, but she came back and she showed that like she was worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a bit disappointed, like you say. Like I feel like an All Stars would not only just be good for people who are genuinely great and I want to see more of, but in terms of like redemption arcs, I feel like the editors would just have an absolute field day in terms of what they have to work with.
For sure. So, episode 4, we'll move on. Episode 4, was Ginny going home. Ginny leaving and deciding that she didn't want to stay, which is fair enough. Do whatever you want, of course. But yeah, like you said, if Astina's watching that from home and like, well, that's a bummer, isn't it?
She must have been seething. I mean, I would be as well.
Yeah.
Like, just, it makes no sense. Like, and I feel like it's not, I mean, you were saying earlier on how like no other reality show can really pair up to Drag Race, which I totally agree with, and I can never really think of like, has it ever happened like on X Factor where somebody's just been like, I'm gonna go. Like, it's not something that happens, and on the one hand it's like it does make you like turn your nose up at people that do it, but on the other hand it's like it makes it so juicy when it happens. Like there's so much unpredictableness, but that was a decision I can't think if is that the first time drag queens ever quit. I can't think of another instance of it happening. So like, are you sure? I mean, props to them. Like, or maybe I've got a horrible memory. Who's escape? Who's done it before?
Dayla, Bendela Creme, remember?
Of course.
I couldn't tell if you were joking. I was like, wait a minute.
I feel the difference was there. Like at least they like saw it out, whereas like Jenny didn't even like finish their lip sync. They were like,
there was a speech, there was a reason. I get.
Like Bendela was like leaving in victory, whereas Jenny was running away and will lose, and I think like maybe that's why it's kept my mind. But yeah, like it's history in a weird way. I don't think it's a way that I'd want to be known for.
No.
But I was teasing this to you earlier on before we started the episode, because I was watching a few of these interviews that all the queens have done, like the episode that they've left on.
Yep.
And Jenny was essentially saying that over some of the episodes, the judges were like, it became quite clear to them that like they just didn't. When I say they didn't get what she was doing, I don't want to be like, oh, the judges were too stupid or that. I think it's just there's a certain style of like punky, eccentric drag that Jenny's doing that I think just didn't translate well with them. And I think she was basically saying at a certain point there was no benefit of her staying if they were basically going to be kind of made a fool of. There was no point for the judges either, because the judges were basically being faced with somebody that just was just sort of there, that they weren't really like getting the appeal of. And it was basically a case of if I leave, then I'm leaving on my own merit. I would say that they still should have saw it out to the bitter end. Lemon bitter. They should have saw it to the bitter end, and because you're already there, you may as well. And I did feel bad for sister. But I think, I mean, if you're gonna do it, at least if they done it in a memorable way. Like it was just an iconic season and an iconic moment in a season full of iconic moments. So you know what? Gotta give props there. And the challenge as well was great. Like I feel like it's easy to let it overshadow how well this challenge and like most of the cast were. It was like Lorraine, Morning Glory. I think it was at the name. Yeah, Morning Glory was like, that was one of my favorite challenges in terms of just like the great performances.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, who is your favorite of the lot?
Actually, you know what? My favorite that episode was Ahora. I think Ahora would have been my winner, to be honest. But I think what stopped her from winning was the runway, because Lawrence that week looked fantastic. Like that might have been the best Lawrence ever looked. So I get it. I get why Lawrence won.
I would say so.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite looks of the entire season. Just works so well, just on every level. Whereas like, if you look at Ahora's, like it's not bad, but like like the monster theme to it. I can't remember which judge said it, but they were like, it took a while until like the kind of like the plasters or the wraps came off, and then it was like, oh okay, and even then it wasn't quite monsterish. And I'm looking at the other ones just now. Jenny's, I did not like Jenny's at all. So fair enough that they went. And I liked Veronica Green's.
Yeah, it was great.
They had a bad time in the maxi challenge, but in terms of like the actual look, it did make it hilarious. So when people were like ganging up on her in the back room, and she's trying to like really defend herself, which is like, you're really underestimating me right now. Like she's just like full of the cold. It was,
I love you all. You try and come for me again.
Oh, that was just I do think Lawrence should have won. I think this was like my favorite like Lawrence performance, just because it suited them so well, and the runway definitely won it for them. But I think the right person went home. I mean, Veronica Green's performance was bad, like I'm saying, but Jenny was bad. Well, Jenny was all right in the hippie role she was doing, but it was literally just Jenny being Jenny.
It was really just like didn't do much.
And then the monster, it was horrible looking. So it was definitely. I feel maybe that's why they decided I'm going, because it's like, I would probably feel guilty if I won that lip sync. I'd be like, oh really? You're choosing me? You're choosing me?
Yeah. Oh wow. Very good. Let's move on to the next one, which was post lockdown, I believe. Yeah, because well, sadly, this is where Veronica leaves. Veronica goes because of coronavirus, which is a huge shame. One that I think really would have gone far. I think Veronica could have been top 4 easily if she'd have, picked things back up.
Was just gonna say that. I think Veronica would have, as much as I like Ellie, I really do think Veronica would have managed to get, if not in the top 4, then in the top 5, along with either Ahora or Ellie.
Oh yeah.
So it was a shame. They were starting to grate on me a little bit in terms of personality, but it was one of those cases where, like, as much as maybe I don't like their personality, they are doing well, and it's always a shame when somebody. There's always other instances of like queens having to like leave a bit early, though. This wasn't quite like a Eureka having to leave early in whatever season she left early. Cause I was like, thank fuck, Eureka's away, and then they're like,
Yes.
look who's back. I'm like, no.
God, yeah.
So when I next see Veronica Green, I will be happy to see them. So
I think they were. I think
respect.
people, the contestants were getting a bit harsh on Veronica. I didn't quite understand why they were constantly like coming for her and stuff. And then a few of them were trying to act like she was cocky, but I don't see how she was any more cocky really than Ahora, for example. I like Ahora.
Yeah.
I don't see how Veronica was the one being labelled as cocky over Ahora. It didn't really quite make sense. But,
it didn't check out.
But anyway, it was Joe Black coming back, which was again another episode that created a very iconic moment in terms of what RuPaul said when he was behind the judging panel. We can get to that in a minute if you want, but Joe Black was voted in. Another moment.
Poor Chelly Valentine.
I know.
Poor Chelly Valentine, because like they all had to give like their own little like speech to be like why she come back, and she was saying like, I've been on the front line helping so much during the coronavirus. Not a single vote. Not a single vote. And it was like I burst out laughing, but I was immediately followed by like, oh, poor Cherry, like that's a shame. But and Astina as well. Like I feel like 5-2 was a bit of like an overwhelming majority. But I will say that I was hoping it would be Joe Black. So we've kind of went over why it was such a shame. And I feel like it was definitely needed because it made me go like, yeah, Joe Black isn't right for this show. Like,
I think Joe Black. I think there's a certain. You have to toe the line. I think like you have to be yourself, but at the same time you have to show that you're appealing to a panel of judges. And I think that's a hard thing. I think you would struggle because obviously you don't want to change everything that you like about yourself, because you shouldn't, but you also need to show that you're versatile and show that you're trying to impress the judges and stuff. And I don't think Joe Black was really that bothered. He had nothing to prove, so I think he was happy to just be himself and just do what he wanted to do, wear that outfit even though it didn't really look great and stuff. I think it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things.
And like obviously it led to the iconic H&M rant, which just was definitely needed. But I think everyone collectively agreed that Rue definitely needed like a lie down or something, because the comment made towards Tia again was needed because it was a case of just like, we've heard this one before, broken record, what are you going to show us? And the same with Joe. It's just like, I mean, Joe didn't. This wasn't like something that Joe's done a lot of, but it was like that. I did kind of like cringe whenever they went like, it's from H&M. I was just like, you have just. I think at that point, when you're living through like a big moment, like a milestone moment, that was I'm like, oh my god, what is about to be unleashed here? And then I don't want to see any more fucking H&M was I mean, this is probably the most iconic episode because we've not even touched on the challenge, which was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
It really was. I mean, I will say, I'm not the biggest fan of the song, but it's catchy. Like, it gets stuck in my head every now and then. I do find myself going, bing, bang, bong. I feel like I'm in a Tweenies episode, like, bing, bang, bong. Come on, Jake, yeah. It does make me feel like that. But, like, the individual verses, like, especially from Bimini, like, oh, shit, killed it.
I literally added this song to like, I've got like my wee like Stay Hydrated playlist with like my favorite songs of the year, and I added this to literally just because the Bimini verse is just, I want them to bring out a song. Like they are just, it is I've already brought up the Prodigy before, but it literally felt like a Prodigy verse. Like, see if it wasn't backed up by like a Eurovision type sound. See if you had like big harsh synths and guitars and all that, you could tell me it was a Prodigy and I'd have totally bought it. Banana Drama was, I think it was a case of wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. It wasn't even good, I would say. I think it was just, the only one that I kind of liked was Ellie. I feel like Ellie was fine. Joe really, I feel like Joe was a detriment to it. I feel like replace Joe this episode with
I
Astina.
know.
I feel like it would have been far far much of a closer contest, because if there's one thing Astina was like proven, was just that like they could serve a lip sync, and they could also serve a look as well. And it just feels, in hindsight, very unfair. But like at the time, I agreed with the majority of queens being like, let's give Joe Black a shot.
Yeah. I get it. But no, I agree. I think Astina probably was best suited for this challenge. And speaking of what I was just saying before about like, you've got to kind of show that you're versatile and show the judges that you can do more than one thing. I think like Bimini, this was the episode where it was like, okay, Bimini is doing that. Like Bimini is showing that there is more here than what we've seen up until this point. But yeah,
they just came back with like, this. It might become a bit of a broken record from us too, because I'm sure that like in every episode we're just going to be going like, man, how good was this episode? This was like the first instance where we're thinking, oh, like I was actually kind of annoyed that it was a team challenge, or like it was judged as a team challenge.
Bimini was
because
the winner,
Bimini was, and so when it came to all the discussions in later episodes where they're being like, oh, Ellie, you've not got a badge, and it's like, yeah, but like technically Lawrence should have one less badge, two if we're being honest, but like definitely one less badge, and Ahora and Tay should have had. I mean, did Taste actually win a challenge that wasn't?
No, Taste only won based on that group challenge. Yeah.
Well, she shouldn't have. I like Taste a lot, but it felt like they were kind of riding on the coattails of Bimini, who, like, I don't really care much for the other. I mean, Taste has a really good line with like the inch from the floor. I ain't talking about my weave line. I think that's quite funny. All of like Ahora's we like kind of like sex noises, like really just making it so over the top. And Lawrence Cheney's there. I did say in conversation with Mary, I was like, honestly, if this was judged individually, I feel Lawrence would definitely be not in the lip syncing, but she would be like low. Because I feel like the kind of similar situation to the Rats musical fell a bit, just so the energy wasn't there. Just seemed like she was in her own head, so it did. Not bad, but just like underwhelming. I still think it would have been, who was in the bottom again? Yeah, it still would have been Tia Coffee and Joe Black, no matter what. But that was and seeing Joe Black go away again was just like, oh, okay, like lockdown really has ruined all perceptions of time, because we're seeing this again. But yeah, probably like the best episode of the show in terms of just like how much was going on, how much fun it was to watch. I feel like this was I'm trying to think if there was another episode that was quite as good as that from this season. Definitely like a top choice.
Sure. I agree. And speaking of Lawrence being low, the next episode after this, Lawrence is in the bottom too, with Tia Coffee. And of course, this is where we say goodbye to Tia Coffee, which you couldn't argue it. Like, Tia Coffee is such a great personality, but my God, the challenges, she just never quite got it. Like, she never quite was up to scratch. Like, the bloody Snatch game, her performance was so bad. It was sad to see. It was really sad to see.
Definitely the second worst out of the lot, I'd say. I at least got maybe like a giggle at the first time she did the little thing, but it was kind of like a little like like that. Whereas like with Lawrence's, it was such a weird choice with Lawrence. And obviously, like, if people are still sticking around in this episode who have never watched Drag Race before, like, Snatch Game is like the Olympics of drag in terms of the fact that like this is the kind of the main event that can like totally kill your trajectory. And if you've been like an underdog the whole time, this could be the thing that like boosts you up. This can be like key in your redemption. And I just don't know why she decided on Miriam Margolyes, I think from Harry Potter. I'm sure there've been a lot more things, but it was just like, it was so just, I felt heartbroken actually, because I was thinking to myself like, Lawrence has proven just how funny she is, so why is she bombing at the one challenge?
It was weird.
Should be killing.
This was the point, I think, in the competition where I was like, you know what, Lawrence could start falling a little bit, and she doesn't fall completely, but it's not a great run from here. I don't think, to be honest, but
no.
yeah, I think it was one of those decisions like, you can get this right. I mean, Jinx, Snatch Game, what a great performance that is. No one knew who that was. Not a famous person, not someone that people talk about ever. And it was kind of similar. Lawrence, I think, was trying to go for something like that, and yet there was no funny jokes, and it was just all about being a lesbian. Is that all he said, basically? I don't know.
That was pretty much that, and then some like really. There was like this one where it was just like this really like obscene little comment, like, well, say obscene, like very like, it was pretty much like, imagine like your granny reading word for word the lyrics to WAP. That's what it felt like, and it was just I just, when I went into this challenge, like, who did you think was going to end up bottom? Because I was thinking Sister Sister's going to bomb, maybe Ahora as well, but honestly, like, everyone besides Lawrence and Tia, at the very least, was good.
Yeah. Like,
I'm looking at this just now, and I feel like, honestly, like, maybe with the exception of, like, Sister Sister, I feel like the performances given by Ellie, Tace, Ahora, and Bimini would have won, like, quite a fair few Snatch Games from other seasons, especially recently. In like the recent US run,
for sure.
I thought Ellie was going to be horrible when it was like Matt Lucas, and it was also the fact it was Vicky Pollard. I'm thinking I'm gonna be wincing.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, I was chuckling away. I was definitely. I mean, we need to like address like the big elephant in the room here that is Bimini's Katie Price.
Yeah.
Like,
this was just bang on,
legendary.
Bang on, so good. Everything she said was just hilarious, and it fit Katie Price's character too. Just so good. Like, that's how you do Snatch Game. That is exactly how you do it. It was fantastic. Really, really good. I will say it wasn't quite on par with, the Vivian and Bagger from season 1. I think they might have just been a little bit better. But still doesn't take away from the fact of how good it was.
A little bit better, not much better.
Not much
just
better.
A little bit better.
Nice. No, yeah, really, really good. But it was sad to see Tia go. Up until this point, Tia hadn't been great, but just so infectious. Like, such a genuinely nice and likable person. Everything she said was just so funny. I really liked it. It was sad to see her go, but it was her time. It was definitely her time. Yeah. I
think in the next episode, I did kind of feel like her absence. Feel like, I think just because of her, like, the talking head bits that she's got, it's just like, I did feel a bit kind of gutted to see her go, but like, obviously we can't just have people stick about. I mean, unless you're the producers of the US Drag Race, in which case you will have people stick about purely for like what they'll say in Untucked and Talking Heads. But like in this instance, it was just like, like, it has to happen, especially because I think they were at the bottom like 3 times before they had to go. Like, that was just like, I mean, you either end up like Tace, where it doesn't matter, or you end up like Tia, where it's like, mate, like, you've had your chance, many a chance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I agree. Yeah, it was a shame. After this one, we did have Sister leave, which was a Tace and Sister bottom 2. A few bottom 2s for Tace at this point, but it was pretty easy that Sister was gonna go. What was this challenge? Let me just quickly check.
Lockdown
superhero.
Yes.
Goodness. Yeah, these were 2 bad looks. I can see why they landed in the bottom.
My
God.
Tace was like up there with like kind of Monet Exchange, like, sponge look, where I'm like, just like that kind of like kitchen appliance, or I think she was trying to be like an exfoliator type thing. It kind of looked like that steel wool that you use if a dish is giving you like a lot of like a bad time.
Exactly.
And like, if there's one thing you can say about Sister's look, is that there's definitely ambition there. Like, just maybe a bit too much of it.
Absolutely.
It was just, I didn't hate it, but I do think it's weird because I will, like, when it gets to the finale, I will probably jump into like a defense mode of pretty much all the queens. But like, as I'm looking at all these looks just now, like, Bimini disappointed. I wasn't a big fan of that look. I feel it dragged down too much. Ellie's I loved, honestly. Like, I think I said this to you when it happened. I think I wanted Ellie to win over Ahora, and I think purely maybe it's just coming from the fact that, like, I know that Ahora's got a like fashion degree. Like I knew she was capable of something like this. Whereas with like Ellie's, it just felt like everything just like came together so well. I'm not annoyed that Ahora won though, because it's just one of those cases where it's like, would have liked this person to win, but honestly, like it was neck and neck. But everyone else, I think, just like Lawrence as well. Like, I mean, not the worst look, but I'm just looking at it just now. I'm thinking the color scheme and just it was a very underwhelming look on pretty much everybody bar Ahora and Ellie, which was it definitely was a disappointing episode in terms of just what got turned out.
I think that's I expect that from the UK. We're not particularly fashionable when it comes to Drag Race. Like, I don't think there'll be many queens that get remembered for their fashion, not in the same way that Raja has or Violet, Aquaria, maybe maybe Sharon Needles to an extent, but like the fashion queens, there's no one like that in the UK. I don't think so. I quite like the concept though, and I was more thinking like, okay, do they fit the criteria? And while Lawrence didn't look amazing, I thought that the criteria was met, so I was like, okay, this is fine. Obviously Ahora was fantastic in both categories. I liked Ellie's look. I wasn't sure if she looked like a superhero though. I wasn't looking at her and thinking, wow, she looks like a superhero. It just looked good. Like, it was a good look. But I see what you mean though. Like, there wasn't a huge amount of like praise to hand out to anyone but really Ahora and Ellie, really, for that challenge.
100%. I think it was probably kind of like an episode where just, I think after such a good run of our episode, like I say, like with the Eurodoll Vision episode, it just kind of definitely felt like kind of like the breaks being like really like mashed, because it felt like a kind of step below in terms of just the looks that were on offer. And what was the actual the challenge? I mean, the challenge was just like to look like a superhero, and I think that most of the, I don't get how, not to rag on her too much, but I can't see how Tace, I feel like makeup wise she was thinking kind of like Storm from X-Men kind of thing, but I just she was very lucky not to be going home. It was just a case of just so happened that Sister came out of a look which again wasn't horrible, but it just was a bit too much. It's all about editing is key to Drag Race as a show. Editing is also key to looking after your looks.
That's a really good point. I like that. No, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, not the best in terms of looks, but a decent episode in terms of the criteria and what the queens had to do and stuff. So next episode we had to say goodbye to Ahora, which was controversial. Maybe not the most controversial, but definitely one of the biggest controversies I witnessed looking through social media and stuff, because
I would totally agree.
This was definitely a moment where people were really like, why did Ahora go? Why is Ahora leaving? Ahora's one of the best queens on there. And I was like, you know what? I kind of agree. Ahora was really good. And it was sad to see her have to leave. It was definitely a moment that made me question the production. You always have to question the production. And I was thinking, did they put these two in the bottom two because they're best friends and they live together and all that kind of stuff? And I think the answer is probably yes. Yes, they probably did do that.
It should have, for me. I'm really, because I definitely don't envy the judges in this episode, because on the one hand it was super easy for them. Like, Bimini was winning this episode no matter what. She could have bombed the stand up, and just the runway look alone is just one of like my favourite looks ever. The pimply stone that was just really genius. And again, like, I was saying before about like how the first few ones were always just like slutty looks, and that's not, and I don't mean that in like a bad way. It's just like, if you have just like Tina Burner in the US run just now, goes to show that like having an aesthetic and having a look, if just purely living by that, and not extending a bit further is a detriment. And Bimini just like said like fuck that, like gave like a Marilyn Monroe like happy birthday Mr. President look for the stand up, and then the runway look was just incredible. So choosing the winner, easy. Choosing who was going home, because I feel like I'm looking at Ahora's like look and thinking of her stand up as well. I think maybe I kind of get the judges in that like it was like overly crude, but I also thought they were being a little bit ridiculous, being like, this is the BBC, and I'm like, did it say in the challenge that like it had to be like PG, like it had to be like of a like there couldn't be a certain level of crudeness. Like it just felt very if it wasn't funny, like just say it wasn't funny, like just to be like, oh, like we don't expect that on the BBC. And granted, like a good chunk of our set didn't make it onto the BBC. I can't remember like if it was partly maybe because our grand didn't want it on it either, but I can imagine that it was very horrible, and I'm kind of gutted that I will never hear it. But it's funnier, it's funnier to like have it.
I mean, I can tell you right now what she says. There was an unedited version of it that
was it actually on?
I mean,
oh my god,
we are on the Not Real Music BBC, so we can't say no. We have to be very careful. No, we are okay to say it. I mean, it was a bit raunchy. But she says, gaping arsehole. That was what she said in that bit. She says gaping arsehole. So yeah. Okay. I mean, like, I'm not to say that's not raunchy. Like, I definitely wouldn't say that like at like a church or anything. But, I mean, I might see what happens.
I think it was that. If I'm a boring Sunday, I might just like pop down to the chapel, see what I can get stirred up. But,
see what Mary says.
I might drop dead from a heart attack from shock, but like what happens. But yeah, I feel like our runway look was just like it was. I mean, I think fashion queens kind of shoot themselves in the foot in a way, because it's like we know you're gonna serve a good look, so it's like even if you do serve a good look just because of what you've established, it's like. It can be quite like to your detriment if you kind of like folk are expecting it to be good, and if it's just good, it'll be like, oh, okay, expect a bit more. I kind of get bored of this sort of like theme in drag looks where it's just like patient. Like I just feel maybe I've just seen it so many times that it's just I get a bit of deja vu, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Ellie Diamond, I think her comedy seemed to work well with the judges. For me, I feel like what she wanted to do wasn't necessarily bad. It just felt quite random XD. So like the teenager inside of me is going like lapping it up. Me just now is like, I mean, it's not horrible, but like it was just a bit one note. The runway look I thought was lovely. I thought it was maybe it's a bit kind of like B-Tech Denali ice skater type look, but like it's still perfectly fine. It's definitely not like I'm actually looking at all the runway looks. I don't actually think there's not a bad runway look on here. Like even Lawrence Chaney, like gemstone look. Yeah,
Lawrence was really good.
It's weird.
I liked what Lawrence did.
It's weird, but it's like
what
do you make of our stand-up?
I think this was an episode for me. Like I love the stand-up ones because I've always been a big fan of stand-up comedy anyway, and I'm just such a big comedy fan. So I probably am like. I don't know if that what the right word is, but maybe I'm the harshest critic when it comes to these episodes. Like, I do find like I'm a bit more nitpickier than I would be with someone's look because I'm just not that well in tune with fashion. So I don't necessarily always have a negative to say. But yeah, with stand-up, I always seem to find myself being a bit like, So yeah, obviously Bimini was great. Gave a memorable quote that fit after everything she said. Maybe said it one too many times, I would argue, as what I would say. Again, maybe nitpicky. Maybe could have left it out, like maybe just say it twice and it would have got the job done. But, it was still really good and some really funny bits, especially about the, oh my God, the bloody, the priest and how she was 14 and too old. That was, Jesus Christ. That was great.
And it's like I will say, like it's also like a done to death joke, but it just her delivery like really does Brilliant. Like it was just, and especially like when she kind of like, oh, I'll never be going back to Dipley, like having Dawn French, by the way. Good. There's been a lot I don't think we've like touched on any of the guest judges, but like I loved Vicar Dibley growing up. I've always been such a big Dawn French fan in general. So like when she popped up, I'm like, why have you not been on sooner? And she seemed to be loving it as well. I think that's the main thing. Like sometimes judges are on it, it's just like you're just on because you've got a new thing to promote or this or that. This felt like Dawn French wanted to be on because she genuinely like loves the show. Same goes for what's her face? Jessie Ware was on this as well, which I mean that'll be the one. I'm sure that that's probably woke up some of like the music heads in the podcast just now who were just clicked on it of obedience. We're just like Jessie Ware, it's 2020 again. Like
Neil's top album of the year.
The year's never ended.
No, for sure. I agree with you. Yeah, but no, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. What was I saying with you? Oh, yeah. Lawrence took a bit too long to get to the jokes, I think, but the general gist.
Big Brit energy.
The general gist was okay. The funniest he was as soon as he came out and was like the camel toe thing that he said. That was the best bit.
Yes. Yeah. It was good. Yeah.
Was again probably should have gone into a bit more detail with some of her things. Ellie kind of took things a bit too far, was a bit weird. And yeah, Ahora, I don't know, I didn't really get what she was saying. She was talking about her nan and gaping arseholes. So I was like, what are you trying to, what's the joke here? You're talking about your nan and this? Like, I didn't really quite get that, but yeah, it was sad to see her go though. I didn't want her to go. I don't know what, I don't know if I disagree with the bottom two, but I didn't want her to go. Like, I was just like, do a double save, do it.
It was a nitty gritty, so it wasn't. It's like again, I don't envy the judges in this decision at all because, like I say, the winner couldn't have been easier to choose. I do agree that you notice a lot when a queen's really trying to like push a slogan that they're going to put in a t-shirt, but like it is what it is, and I mean I laughed all the way through. But should it have been Ahora and Taste in the bottom two? I mean, I feel like Ellie should have definitely been in like contention, and I think Lawrence was probably saved by that runway look. Like it's my other than Bimini, that's my favorite runway look. I feel like if she popped up with like her caveman look that she had before, I wasn't a big fan of that. Like if it was like on that sort of level, I feel she would have been lip syncing for her life there. But it was obviously sad to see somebody go who like had obviously proven themselves, but on the other hand, I think some people were being a bit too harsh towards Ellie. But I think it's because the drag race community as a whole prefers a certain type of drag race, drag queen, and I feel Ellie doesn't quite fit into that, so it makes it like people take it quite personally, which is a shame because all it does is just make Ahora look bad, who obviously is pals with Ellie, like was like very much defended Ellie for the whole thing. Shit, was this not the episode where we had that whole Ellie? I can't believe we almost skipped past that because
we did. Oh shit,
this put me off Lawrence and Ahora big time. More so Lawrence and Ahora. I mean, put me off Lawrence to the extent where like she was kind of just like floating above Ahora in terms of my preference, but I respect her so much, and just her whole attitude towards the placement of this stand-up was just honestly horrible. Like I was actually felt so bad for Ellie through this.
I know, and they kept it going as well. The next episode, it was still a thing. It really kept getting brought up. I mean, even the finale, they asked Ellie about it, and it was just such a big thing that didn't need to be a big thing.
No,
like I don't think so.
No, I feel maybe
it just didn't.
Maybe the editors kind of like exaggerated a little bit, and maybe like it wasn't that big a deal, but like honestly it felt like World War 4 3 whatever one we're on at this point. I've lost track, but it was that was like, it kind of raised my blood pressure. I genuinely was like, I try not to get too angry about reality stuff because I know how much edited it was, or how edited it all is, but like I feel just because like I felt so bad for Ellie already because of how drag fans were treating her, it was quite like this just felt mean. And I mean, it's just, I feel the right decision. It's weird because like I feel like anyone could have went home other than Bimini and I would have got it. And I guess just I'll try not to dwell too much about what may have been. But it was a good episode, and I feel like these final few episodes that we've got coming up are just some of the best.
Fantastic, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And yeah, another moment where it started to look like Lawrence was cracking.
Oh,
just
yeah.
taking it really personal.
Mm-hmm.
And yet your stand-up really speaks for itself. Your placement isn't as important as they act like it is on that show. That's the one thing I've never understood. Well, there's a few things I never quite understand. But when they go so like, oh, you're putting that person there and this person there, I was like, yeah, okay, I did. Like, can you go away now and talk to someone else? Like, who cares? Like, if you're funny, you'll be remembered. It doesn't matter where you are. You'll win because you're the best, and that's what matters. Bimini won because she was the best.
Exactly.
It was the funniest. Why else would she have won? Like, it just never quite get that. And the way they were treating Ellie over it didn't make sense. Although poor Ellie tried doing something and didn't even win. Like, that was a bit like,
it's
like, oh.
In the next episode, is it not where Lawrence goes like, well, was it worth it then? Was it worth it not to get the badge?
Did you get your badge? Did you get your badge, Ellie? Like, no, I didn't.
No. But it was so cute because, like, I will say it, like, I really do live for, like, Ellie's, like, peppy attitude. I feel like it can feel so much like a war in Drag Race. So having somebody like this, which just like really did bring some levity to it all. Big respect for her. But going into episode 9 though, I'm thinking, right, even though Tace had, I think we actually almost definitely we said this before the episode. We were like, if somebody's gonna go home this episode, it's either going to be Ellie or Tace. They're going to be the two going up because Ellie's got no badges and Tace has been in the bottom 3 times at that point. It was absolutely wild. It was the best. It was. I don't know. I keep saying like because it's like whenever we start talking about the episode, I just get like flooded with the nostalgia for it, being like, oh, that was so good and that's so good. It was one of my favorite episodes. This one, the Beastenders one. Yeah, like
definitely.
Wonderful.
It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I saw a bit online because this season got a lot of American viewers, way more than the first one, and I think we've talked about already how big it became. And I saw a lot of people like not understanding what was going on, but I think it is because you need to understand like shows like soap opera culture in the UK. It's so specific to the UK. There is nothing like these kinds of shows. I mean, there are other shows like it, but it's so British, I think the people writing the people writing it really nailed it. They nailed all those moments that you see in shows like EastEnders, Coronation Street and stuff like that. Like, they really nailed this challenge. And yeah, I think again, if you're outside of UK culture, you might just be a bit like, what is this all about? What is going on? But no, I think if you're in on the joke, you would watch this challenge and be like, wow, they got it so good.
Absolutely just nailed it. It was I think it might have been the only big challenge from this season where I was having I wasn't literally scratching my head, but like I was going, what? Like, who is gonna go home here? Because it's like, I think even the people who were stumped, like Lawrence, definitely was getting her own head again, but Phyllis Bitchell was just an incredible. Really good. It was like like when she fumbled, but when she got into it, she was probably top 2 of it. And like Ellie Diamond, I out of all of Graham Norton's bad critiques this season, out of all of them, I feel like very, very often I was kind of going, Graham, what are you on about? And especially the tail end, like I don't know if he was just like, why does Ru keep bringing me on? Like I'm bored of this. It kind of felt like, and I do like Graham. Like he's also like a good presenter, and that maybe it's just him being in like a co-judging role. Maybe just isn't best suited for him. But here he was like, can I go at Ellie because he said himself that she acted it well, but she was too good an actor. Like she wasn't being comedic enough. And I'm like, Graham, did you just watch the scene where she pretended to fuck a puppet? Like, did you see that as well? Like that was. It felt like. I don't know, like, did he just like look at his phone whenever that was on screen? Like, it just felt so. Honestly, I feel like, I'm trying to think back to like who was actually weak. Like even Tace being the bottom, I'm like, yeah, she wasn't quite like the role of Karen. Like it was maybe like a whole like like short hair soccer mum who's just like having a go at retail staff all the time. But like when she again, much like Lawrence, when she was good. Like the "You're Not My Drag Mother" bit with Bimini was just I I was in stitches. Like I could not stop laughing at that. I suppose I was totally happy with Bimini winning this episode. Because she I will say Graham did give some bad critiques this season, but the observation that Bimini was really going into this role to benefit the laughs, like when she was like scrubbing the floor and she was like getting into it in a very kind of like slutty like Slater person way. It was like, okay, like that was actually well pointed out. So I will say best person won, but much like some of the other episodes, I'm like, I do not envy the judges here because I had a hard time kind of going who should be in the bottom.
Yeah, and I think based on the overall product, I think maybe it was the right decision. Like, as much as we saw so much failing and falling and fumbling from Lawrence, the actual performance was great. Like when you see the final product, it was really good. So I think I get why they kept him out of the bottom two, and also Bimini winning was just so obvious. I think it was just so nailed in, and I think it ended up falling more to the fact that they were just both really good and the other two just weren't quite there, even though they were still really good. Like, it was so difficult. I think I think the fail for Taste was the runway. That was just like, okay, you didn't really fit the criteria of the challenge, so you're probably going to be bottom two now. And then Ellie might have been just the fact that she wasn't quite as good as the other two in the actual challenge. That was how it seemed. Like, it was just so difficult. They were all brilliant.
You have to
nitpick,
crazy. Don't you? You have to be like, when it comes down to the penultimate episode, you have to kind of go like, right. I will say that like the critiques they were making about Taste, like I did get panto from that. I feel like I do think it's the weakest look out of all of them. So like I'm not like gonna go to bat for it and be like, what the fuck were you on about? But I did get panto vibes from it. And I suppose maybe I'm being like Taste just now and I'm focusing too much on the panto bit. When you look at the rest, you look at like Bimini's look here, and especially the way she walked the runway was just, at this point I'm like, right, if I wasn't already like Team Bimini on this, like this episode just like sealed the deal. Like I did go into it scared though. I think I said to you, I'm like, I don't know, man, like I'm getting that kind of like gut feeling like something's gonna go awry, and it wasn't because of anything that Bimini's done. It was just like it's going too well. But you know what, sometimes something's good for no reason whatsoever, and just you have to roll with it. So yeah, fairly deserved. And the double save, I mean, I kind of did think whenever the lip sync started, I'm like, I cannot choose between these two. Like, and I think a double save would it have been more interesting? I mean, especially because when it got to the final episode, there was like kind of basically a final three chosen already. Maybe should have just like kind of like not delayed the inevitable. But like I've said through quite a chunk of this episode, I'm quite a big Ellie defender, and yeah, I was happy to see her in the final. And yeah, I think the episode was a good time, a great penultimate episode. Got me right in the hype mood I needed for the final.
Up until this point, I think it seemed as though the clear front runner, based on what fans were saying, what the track record tells us, Bimini is pretty much the clear winner now, right? Wouldn't you agree, Liam?
I would. I'm not much of a betting man. I've not really betted since like the Euros 2016. So I try like not to be too much of a better. But like if somebody had said to me like who's gonna win this, like I would have put a big chunk of money on Bimini. I mean 4 wins alone should like put you like right at the very top. And I do think like she would probably from the moment the episode started, like she was in the top 2, like just by virtue of those wins. But I won't lie, I had like my stomach was doing backflips thinking like what's gonna happen here, because I like all the queens in this final. There's not one.
Oh
where,
yeah.
Did Silky Ganache make it to the end of her season? Did she make it to the finale?
Yeah.
I can't remember if she did. Okay, so yeah, that pissed me off. So I'm like, okay, like you do not deserve to be here. But like it was one of those finals where I'm like, everyone deserves to be here. Should some people win this over others? Definitely, but like it's not like pure like egregious that some are here. Just they're here. But I was very much like you. I think you said you were kind of team Bimini. I mean, don't think some people like to do all the team stuff, but it's like it's part of the fun. It's like football. It's like you want to have like somebody to root on. I think I was definitely wanting Bimini to win, but I wasn't pure angry at the start. Anyway, I was like, I don't care who wins. They've all been great, but Bimini should get it.
Yeah, I think as much as I wouldn't be angry at anyone winning, really. I think I'd have been surprised if Ellie had won, just to get all that way and not have a challenge win and win the whole thing. Would be a bit like, what does that mean? But similarly with Taste being in the bottom so much, I think, you show your fighting power by always bouncing back and winning those lip syncs, which is a good quality to have. But at the same time, again, the show is about the challenges and how you perform in those particular challenges. And I think really it was between Lawrence and Bimini, and just with the fact that Bimini gave us such a great story. You start at the bottom and you rise all the way throughout the season until you eventually win challenges after challenges after challenges, and it just had such a great winner's feel to it. So I just thought that's the end of the story now. Like if you're reading a book, this is how it ends, and it just felt like the right way to go. I like Lawrence. I think Lawrence is great. I was just saying, I said a lot to, I think even you or my friends, like Lawrence was just not quite there, and if he came back for an All-Stars, he would have killed it. That's what I was thinking for Lawrence, and and that's why I was like, no, Bimini's got it now. Bimini's got the win now. But it's okay that Lawrence ended up winning. I'm not going to cry or like, it's fine. It's all good.
Speak for yourself, mate. Speak for yourself. I think very soon after the episode aired, I tweeted out saying the hatred I was seeing for Lawrence, I think was just so unwarranted.
Oh yeah.
Mainly because like I think you and me will both agree that the first half of the season, from up to about the UK Dolls episode, that it was Lawrence's show basically.
Yeah.
Like she was very much the front runner at that point, and I was like, you know what, this is totally fine. Like she's brought the looks, she's been hilarious, she's dipped here or there, but like, I mean, people who think that winners are going to be these like perfect people who never flounder or anything are just like living in their own wee world.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I think if anything, having a winner who stumbles a little bit just makes me gravitate towards them more.
Yeah.
But I will say that like as the season was going on, it just felt like the tortoise and the hare. It felt like Lawrence the hare like got like a huge step up, but here was Bimini just going away, came back after the break, and was just like, I do think she should have won.
Yeah.
But I will say that I did tweet out being like, folk are being far too heated about a queen who is actually quite good winning.
Yeah.
And obviously like I'm Scottish, Lawrence is Scottish. Like I was happy to get like, especially because there was no Scottish queens in the first season.
No.
It was like okay, like one, thank you for recognising this, for having two. It was funny that Lawrence, I think when she came onto the show, was thinking she'd be the only Scottish queen, and then Ellie Diamond's just like, hi, I'm here. But yeah, I'm happy that a Scottish queen won. And I also heard that she was like she's like the first like plus size queen as well, which I think especially because in the latest seasons of Drag Race, the people who get like the evil like edgy cut, like the villain cut, tend to be, and to be fair, like Silky Ganache deserves it because she wanted it, she was up front and she's here for the attention. But like you think like Eureka and Silky, to a certain extent like Britta,
Okay.
it's good that like there's a good balance. Like, well, look, here's like Lawrence here, so like, and it didn't feel unwarranted either. I feel like if Bimini wasn't there, if it was for whatever reason Bimini didn't hand in her papers to start in that season, it was Lawrence, Tace, and Ellie. It would be Lawrence any day. Maybe Tace on like a certain occasion, but it was Lawrence all the way there. But I did whenever it came to them announcing the winner, my heart kind of dropped in the sense that I was expecting to hear that Bimini, and so when it was like Lawrence Chaney, I was like, what? Like it was a shock. And I'm not sure I can remember a season of Drag Race where they've announced well, actually, maybe even actually UK Drag Race season 1, I was like, I was certain, or I was hoping it'd be Davina, and when it wasn't, I was like, but also like I think it was only 2 in the final, so it was like, I mean, probability is going to be one or the other, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that was gotten.
Yeah, it seems that's a bit of a common theme, because a lot of the fans were very much in favour of Davina the first season. Obviously, the Vivian won, and then season 2, the fans were very much in favour of Bimini, and Lawrence won. But this is the thing, though. I do wonder if this has something to do with the fact that there aren't live finals in the UK. So when you get to that point in the season and you have those live finals, they have the opportunity to check social media and see what people are saying, and then maybe do a last minute sort of, okay, the fans love this one the most, we're going to give the win to them, they've earned it as well, sort of thing. But they've not had that in the UK, because they've recorded it all before anyone even gets the opportunity to see like what the fans think first, which is interesting.
I think they do a similar thing in the US run, where it's like they'll record like each queen winning it, which is like, it makes total sense, like to avoid like leaks and whatnot. But I do agree that like I think when it comes to, like, how they always do like the team Bimini or like team this, team that, to gauge, I think the only impact that has is like, there's that one time whenever it was Eureka's season, she got like very few votes. And a lot of the votes were coming through because of like a Russian like voting thing. So it was like they found out that this bot had been voting for Eureka, and it was like, what the fuck?
Shit.
It was a very weird thing. I think mainly it's just for them to kind of go like, right, people hate this queen. It's more of a case of like process for elimination, as opposed to, Bimini's the most followed like Instagram drag queen in terms of UK stuff. I think it's like 500,000 at this point. So it's like, if they wanted to purely do it for popularity, like Bimini, and also because of like actual like quality as well, like Bimini would have been like the easy choice there. And sometimes the easiest choice is the simplest choice is the best choice. So I think everyone's probably in agreement that like Tace, like as good as she is, like having somebody win who's been the bottom 4 times, like, is a good testament to never give up, like try your best and all that, but maybe not who you're wanting to like represent your whole like the title. And Ellie, I don't even really think the fact she didn't win anything played into it. I just think they looked at her and went, she's still quite young. She's got a bright future ahead of her. See you in All Stars. And I do think that Ellie Diamond, if she comes on to All Stars, which I think she'd be silly not to, I think she will go very far again, because if that's how good she is at the age of 21, and there's a lot of good young drag queens, but like, Tace was saying herself, like the makeup skill she's got already, like are ones that there's drag queens that come on that are in their 50s who just aren't like I'm trying to think, like Latrice Royale, like I like Latrice Royale a lot, but like I'm thinking like what her makeup's like compared to like Ellie Diamond, and I'm like, it's not objective, but it's like Ellie really knows the science behind it feels like. And obviously, like, not going to throw Latrice Royale under the bus, because they're very much more comedy in that, but I think if Ellie can refine like her personality and whatnot in terms of like kind of how she presents it, I think it wouldn't be unrealistic to see her going very far. Though, if there's All Star season 2 and Bimini gets robbed, remember the time it was All Star season 2, the US run, with when Katya didn't get it? I didn't even follow Drag Race at that time. I came to that season like a year or 2 later. But my Tumblr, which goes to show how far long ago it was, but I'm saying my Tumblr was seething. I thought somebody had been murdered. I'm like, who's Katya? Like, what are folk getting so angry about? And now having watched like all the seasons, knowing it all, I'm like, yeah, absolutely fair dues why folk were so raging. Though All Star season 2 and UK Drag Race season 2 have both been just phenomenal.
Absolutely.
No denying that.
Absolutely. Really great. Just, they've really struck gold. I think it's going to be a huge selling point for the marketing of Drag Race now. I think the UK one is going to really, really be huge, and it already is, but I think it's going to be massive. I think it won't be long before they start giving out cash prizes and things like that. I think they're going to find a way to market it in that kind of way and just plow so much money into it, because it's become such a big thing. And I think it's embodying what I think audiences actually want in drag: the personalities, the characters, the down-to-earth genuineness, the less egoism that you see a bit too much of in the US version. It's just not really there, and I think that's going to be really big for the show.
Couldn't agree more. And I think I mean, along with some other shows, I was reading up, they're like, this is pretty much like how BBC Three, which, I mean, Ryan and I, the old men here, will remember when BBC Three was actually on the telly, and then whenever it got put onto basically like a digital channel, it was like such a shock. It was like, oh shit, this is happening. And now they're going to be bringing it back. I think it's the end of this year, start of 2022, and it's shows like Drag Race UK which are doing that. And it just, I think maybe people underestimated just how big a deal Drag Race was. Maybe they just kind of thought it's a US thing and there's loads of UK folk who love it, but it's not that big a thing. But I think it's just more the fact that it shined a spotlight on just how much talent there is. There's only 2 seasons worth of queens we've seen so far. And already, just such talent. And you said, I think it was you, it was you that said it, like, when it comes to the UK, like, I don't feel like, in terms of, like, and I don't want to be too generalising here, but, like, I don't think people want to let their egos get in the way too much compared to Americans. No offence to any Americans listening just now, but, like, in terms of Drag Race especially, I feel there's maybe like 1 instance or 2 of a UK Drag Race contestant having their ego get in the way. In the US, it feels like there's 2 or 3 per season.
Literally.
So
literally.
It's very refreshing. Very refreshing.
Absolutely. But that's a good stopping point. I think we'll end it there. It's been great talking about this with you, Liam. Fantastic season and a fantastic chat to accompany
definitely.
It. But
it was lovely to bring it to life. So it was
absolutely
going from the DMs to the to the YouTubes. It was I've been looking forward to it, and thank you for having me on.
Of course, thank you, Liam. Of course, it's been great. We should do this again at some point as well. That would be fantastic. Also,
absolutely.
Before you all leave, if you stuck around to this point, which would be great, make sure you do follow Liam on social media. Do you want to plug your stuff, Liam?
Just like I kind of do what Ryan does, but a lot slower and not as good. If you like music analysis, I tend to kind of do big discography rankings, and I tend to make myself look very silly, with makeup and all that. And maybe by the time this goes up, I'll I'm not sure when it'll go up, but I have got an April Fool's video in the works.
Ooh, yes.
Look, you'll see something from me. But if you like what Ryan does, you'll like what I do. I've just got a pathetic mustache compared to his luscious beard. But you know what? It'll do.
Amazing. Definitely go subscribe to Liam. He's really great. Lots of great content on his channel, of course. And we'll get, like I said, we'll have to do this again sometime. And hopefully, if you're listening, you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you have any thoughts. If you are a fan of the show and you never really expected a video like this, that'd be great if you've enjoyed the video. So leave it a like, share it with other people you know that like the show. And that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Do have a good day. And goodbye.
Sashay away.
Yeah, nice.
Bring it back around.
Amazing. Goodbye. Bye.